Rescue teams were deployed yesterday to search hiking trails.
Concern is growing this morning for a Huntington Beach woman who disappeared at an Inyo County campground 3 days.
Tonight, Yosemite officials are searching for a missing teenager.
Dropping an urgent search is underway for an Oakland man reported missing in Yosemite National Park.
Breaking news tonight, a tragic ending to a story we've been following all day in the gorge.
An exhaustive search for a missing hiker in the Smokies through rough terrain and changing weather ends tragically.
So missing 411, let me tell you, right off the bat, I'm not an expert in this subject at all. It's just something that I have recently gotten into and find very, very interesting, and not necessarily for the missing persons aspect of it. I really do feel for the families and the people that have gone missing in these national parks, but the part that draws me into this is the paranormal aspect of it. And I'm gonna back up in just a second because I realize some people may have no idea what I'm talking about when I say missing 411, so we're gonna get into it. So there's a man named David Paulides, and he is kind of like the forerunner, kind of almost like expert in this subject or topic. He has started a series of books called Missing 411, which deals with the large amount of people that go missing within our national forests.
Butchers dropping an urgent search is underway for an Oakland man reported missing in Yosemite National Park.
We were notified this morning the vehicle was still here. The dogs were at the vehicle. It really probably clued us in that we were dealing with something more than just a lost person.
Well, concern is growing this morning for a Huntington Beach woman who disappeared at an Inyo County campground 3 days ago.
So the weird thing about these people going missing in these national forests is that it's a large amount of people, and a lot of them just simply vanish without a trace. And by without a trace, I mean when they go missing, a lot of times it's when they're with other people and they just disappear while they're with the group. They kind of wander off just a little bit, not far, and then they're gone. And when search parties come to look for these people, a lot of times there's no tracks. The scent dogs can't pick up a scent. It's like these people just vanish. Now I recognize that there can be a lot of normal reasons for people to go missing, or sometimes they're not normal, sometimes they're still scary, but they're not paranormal in nature. And I want to go through those real quick first, and then we're going to talk about some of the reasons that I think that this could be paranormal in nature and what type of paranormal events could be happening. So some of the more natural theories for this are that people just simply get lost. They wander off, they don't know where they are, and they can't find their way back. Another one is animal attacks. When you're in a national forest, there is a lot of wildlife around you and a lot of animals that could attack and drag you off as their prey.
A deadly animal encounter. 2 mountain bikers attacked by a cougar. One of them did not survive.
So that could be one explanation why people go missing very quickly and are not found again. But my way of thinking is if it were an animal, there would be traces of a struggle or of some sort. There would be some blood left behind, or articles of clothing, footprints or drag marks where the animal drags the person away. And a lot of times, there are no traces. Another theory out there is that it could be a serial killer. That's why these people vanish and are never heard from again. Some people think it could be cannibals, a group of people out in these forests that feed on other people. But my favorite theories of all these are the paranormal theories, which we're going to get into in just a second. But before we do, I want to tell you about one of the people that had gone missing but then returned, because I think it's a very, very interesting story, and I think after I tell it, it'll leave you with some questions and will lead nicely into the paranormal theories and why I think it's paranormal in nature, what is happening in the national forest. So in February of 1977, a 24-year-old man named Stephen Kibaki was cross-country skiing near Lake Michigan. While he was out that day, he decided to take a little break near the edge of the water of Lake Michigan. After resting for a little bit by the lake, Stephen got up to leave, but when he turned around, he noticed that his trails leading up to the lake were now missing. He tried to find his way back out of the woods, but he didn't have his trails to retrace his steps, so he ended up getting lost, and the last thing that he remembers is feeling numb and very weak. The next thing Stephen remembers is waking up in a field in the middle of the woods, but But the weird thing is that it is now springtime. He manages to find his way out of the woods and into the nearest town, where he finds out he is now in Massachusetts, which is over 700 miles away from where he went missing. You want to hear something else strange about this case? From the time that Stephen disappeared to the time that he wandered into that town, 14 months had passed. He had been gone for over a year, but he doesn't remember anything that happened or how he got from one location to the other, over 700 miles apart. So the story gets even more interesting because when the search party went out, when Stephen first went missing, they said that they followed his trails to the lake where he went missing, but there were no trails leading away from the lake. Which is very strange because if you remember, Stephen said when he got up from the lake after resting, he turned around to leave and his trails weren't there anymore. And that's why he got lost, because he couldn't follow his trails back out. But when the search party went out there, they said that his trails were leading up to the lake, but no trails leading away. So what happened? Why did the search party find trails leading to the lake, but not leading away? And how come when Stephen went to leave, how come he didn't see his trails from where he had come from? Now to me, this sounds like alien abduction. And that is one of the theories of what happens in the National Forest, is that a lot of people get abducted by aliens while they're out there. I mean, think of the case with Travis Walton. It was almost the same thing. I don't think he was gone for that much time, but when Travis Walton was abducted, he was abducted within a national forest and he returned days later. That could explain why there were no trails leading away from the lake. Maybe he was abducted at the lake and just had these false memories of him walking away. I'm not too sure. Another paranormal theory is that people are wandering into like a wormhole almost. People unknowingly walk into the entrance of the wormhole, and when they come out, they're in a completely different area, many miles away from where they started. Some people think it may be some sort of time slip. People walk into an area and they're transported from one period of time to another within a second, and so they don't age, but everybody else around them does. Another interesting theory is that it is because of Bigfoot abductions. So think about it. What is one creature that's always been seen in forests? Bigfoot. But what is one creature that we have very little evidence of existing? Bigfoot. Now all these people that go missing in national forests, a lot of times there's no traces of them going missing. Like there's nothing left behind, nothing to trace, no way for people to find them. How could they go missing like that without being taken by something that knows how not to leave traces? So in the beginning I told you about David Paulides, and he is kind of like the leading expert on this, and he's written a lot of books about these cases. He recently came out with a documentary which I watched, which was really fascinating, and in that documentary they were out in the middle of the woods and they captured these very abnormal and kind of frightening sounds that some people think are Bigfoot calls. Unfortunately, I'm not going to put that in here because I don't want a copyright strike or anything like that, but I urge you, if you haven't seen it, search the documentary Missing 411. I know it's on iTunes. I don't know what else it's on. I think it's even maybe on Netflix. I'm not sure, but it is super fascinating, and I think you guys will really enjoy it. Like I said, I'm not an expert on this subject, but I do find it very fascinating, especially the paranormal aspects of it. Could it be alien abductions? Could it be some type of wormhole? Could it be a time slip? Or could it even be Bigfoot abductions? I'd like to hear your thoughts in the comments below on these missing 411 cases. I want to know what you think happens to these people. Do you think it's something naturally occurring, just people getting lost, or animal attacks, or bad weather, something like that? Or do you think there is something paranormal about it? I mean, one of the things that David Paulides talks about is people melting into their clothes, and what he means by that is a lot of times it'll look like people had just melted and it's just a pile of clothes left behind and no traces of the person, no tracks going in or out. Like I said before, dogs can't pick up the scent. It's so weird. And the fact that these national forests have had so many people go missing and they don't keep records of it. I'm sure the police keep records of it, but if you went to the National Forest Service and asked how many people went missing within this forest, they would tell you they don't know. They don't keep track of this for some reason. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and found it interesting. My next video, I'm going back to Proctor Valley Road. I haven't been there in a hot minute, but it is a spooky road. I'm going to go over there with some friends. There's a lot of different paranormal entities that have been seen there between, you know, that was rude. Like I was saying, there's a lot of paranormal entities that have been seen there. There's kind of like a hitchhiking lady that's been seen there. There have been ghost cars or like ghost headlights that have been seen there. UFOs, monsters, it's called the Proctor Valley Monster. Just a lot of spooky things, and I'm gonna go back this weekend, so that will be my next video coming out, and I'm so excited to go back and see what we come up with. If you want, you can follow me on my social media, on Twitter and Instagram. That's where I'm the most active. The links are in the description down below, because, you know, sometimes YouTube doesn't notify people when my videos go out, so that's the best way to keep up to date with all that information. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Again, leave a like if you did, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye guys.